Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and my co-host today is Dr. Dan Ratner. And our guest today executive produced Everybody Loves Raymond, and he also has his own show on Netflix, and that's called Somebody Feed Phil. Let's welcome Phil Rosenthal. Phil, welcome.
Hello. Great to be here.
Good to see you, Phil.
So, Phil, before we get started, we're a sports show. I want to talk to you about sports. You grew up in Queens, New York.
I was born in Queens. Yes, I lived in the Bronx a bit in Rockland County.
So I'm assuming you're a New York sports fan, and
Yeah.
I want to find out what kind of memories or what kind of teams you root for.
69 Mets was my world. I was 9. And
Ryan, Jerry Kuzman, unbelievable comeback. I remember I wasn't really a baseball fan back then, but I was alive. But that was
you were 9 years old and you lived in the New York area. The 69 Mets was everything. And years later, you're going to like this. We did an episode of Raymond because Raymond was a sports writer. Okay.
Right.
And we did an episode. This would have been in like the year 2000 about. Ray goes to the Hall of Fame because the 69 Mets are having a reunion, and we had most of them on the show.
Like Cleon Jones, was he there?
Cleon, Tommy, Agee, Ron Swoboda, Kuzman, Art Shamsky. We even named the dog on the show Shamsky for Art Shamsky.
Phil, did you have any of the 62 Mets?
No.
Okay, good. Mars
Was
Throneberry
Ed
did not belong.
Kranepool? Was Ed Kranepool there?
Yes.
Wow, that's really. How did you get these guys to show up?
I think you paid them. But the only one who didn't show up was Tom Seaver. And Tom Seaver said, I just heard this, by the way. What does Ray get to be on the show? That's what I want. Well, Tom, you're not going to get that because you're going to have one line on the show, if that. And Ray happens to be the Ray in the title. Everybody Loves Raymond. Not if it was called Everybody Loves Tom Seaver, then you would get that money.
Would be funny, Phil, if you guys agreed to pay him the money. Like, okay, we really want Tom Seaver. This is going to make or break our show this week. Let's pay him. I mean,
it just shows you, maybe he was saying that because he really didn't want to do it, but it just shows you, be careful what you say because you might find out your worth.
That's right. You called his bluff. So
yeah.
Are you only a Mets fan or Yankees also, or?
I'll be honest with you. When the Yankees in '78 were hot, I liked them.
Yep. Hey, what? I mean,
I'm a fan. Here's what it is. I could care less about sports, to be honest. I like when the stakes are high. I like the World Series, right?
Right.
I like Super Bowl. I like the NBA playoffs. I like the championship games. I like the Olympics. I like when the stakes are high. So what does that mean? I'm more of a fan of drama than I am of regular sports. I am not the guy who sits through any game just because I like the game. No, the stakes have to be high. I want to know the backstory of the players. I want to be emotionally invested. Then I like it.
I think that's the nature of sports, but I like the way you hit the nail on the head there, Phil. Do you like tennis? Like that can be some high drama.
Here's what I love. When you see the best in the world do something.
Yep.
Like, here's a regular game I would watch. Michael Jordan's playing tonight, and you can go and see him. Yes.
Yeah, right. That I want to see.
But I would also go, by the same token, you have a chance to see Mikhail Baryshnikov dance. Yes, I will go see that. Why? Because they're the best in the world at what they do. Here's a chef, Thomas Keller, at the French Laundry. You have a chance to eat there. Yes, I would like to go do that.
We'll talk about food coming up. Don't worry. We're all ready for you with that.
But it's all related to me. Yeah, would you like to see Meryl Streep in her Oscar-winning movie? Yes, I would.
You got good taste.
That's all. There's two kinds of anything, good and bad. You want to see the good. The Beatles, I've heard of them. They're very, very good. I would like to see the Beatles.
I agree.
Now, you growing up in Queens in the 60s, did you ever have the chance to see the Beatles? I mean, I know you were young. I know you're not that old.
No, I would have been 4 years old if when they came.
Well, yeah, I guess. I guess you got
You know, I still vaguely remember, even at that age, when they were on Sullivan, because it was the biggest thing that ever happened. Right.
I mean, Dan's an avid Beatles fan. I mean, everyone knows
I know all about him.
I mean, what is your favorite Beatles album, and tell us why, and Dan will tell you what his favorite is.
I was 8 years old, and this album came out, the White Album. And for me, that was kind of the first one where I was old enough to like music, right? Like before that, it was the Monkees, because they were geared towards 5 and 6 year olds, really, you know? The White Album now is a level of sophistication that at 8, I was almost ready for it. But I listened to that every single day. That was a double album, as you know, and it was so innovative, and it changed music, really, when you talk to people who know way more about this than I do. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, one of the greatest albums ever made.
No, there's no question. But the weird thing about the Beatles is they changed music over and over and over with every album, and they released an album every 6 months.
That's insane.
Every 6 months.
They
burned
16 albums
bright.
in eight years.
They burned bright. But we know what happens when you burn bright.
Yeah, we do. We know, right? You burn out.
So is it cliche, Phil, that Sgt. Pepper's is my favorite Beatles album?
No, I think when all is said and done, that's my favorite too. By the way, it was the first album I bought on CD.
Yep.
That's a good question.
It was reason to buy a CD player was to get Sgt. Pepper, because when you heard it on CD, after having only heard it on record, vinyl, you heard things in the album you never heard before.
Yep.
And it was mind blowing.
I do kind of miss the sound of the record, though. The vinyl just sounds so good.
It's a warm sound. I get it.
Yep.
But if there's a whole other audiophile reason to get into digital,
I agree, but do you have a favorite Beatle? I do.
Yeah, I think John.
I do.
I think John.
Have you met John?
No, but I met Paul and I met Ringo.
When did you meet them?
Ringo did a telethon that we worked on, Hope for Haiti. And Paul, I happened to be at a taping of Saturday Night Live when Springsteen was on. I'm a huge Springsteen fan. And Paul came out at the end and sang with him. And I got to say hi to him.
Were you nervous at all? I mean, these are people that you idolized growing up. And I don't get nervous around actors. I get nervous around politicians like Obama. I got nervous when I worked with him. And I know you directed Bill Clinton a while back. But did you get nervous when you meet people like you grew up like idolizing?
The first time I met Bruce Springsteen, I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my life. I saw him at a store in Los Angeles. I just moved to LA in 1989. He was the biggest star in the world, even more so than today. And he was just buying shirts.
What store was it?
Fred Siegel.
Okay, on Melrose Avenue. Ross the Bus there.
It just changed over to be another store. I don't know what it is now. So I'm at Fred Siegel, and the way Fred Siegel is set up is it's a series of rooms like in a house, and in this one room was shirts, and I walking through. It's my first time seeing the Fred Siegel store, and I think that guy looks like Bruce Springsteen talking to the sales lady, and that he couldn't be in the same place I am. That couldn't happen.
That's impossible. And
I continue walking through, and then as I get to the other side of the room, I'm like, could it be? I look back. Damn, it looks. I got to talk to him. I start sweating. Because I've seen him 100 times by this point. I've seen him so many times I lost count. He's my absolute favorite. He's my idol. I love him. But now I'm going to do this thing where I walk by to just listen to see if it sounds like him now.
You're stalking now, yeah. Yes.
I'm just a customer in the store walking past. I don't care about it. And I walk past and I hear, you have this in blue? And now I'm like, holy shit, it's him. Holy shit. Oh, my God. I have to say, and I muster up all my courage and I walk over to him when he's done with the sales lady, and I say, "Excuse me, Mr. Springsteen?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Oh my goodness, my name is Phil, and I'm just such a big fan of yours. Do you mind if I say hello to you?" And he says, "No, hey, nice to meet you, Phil." And he shakes my hand, and I go, "And I've enjoyed seeing you many, many, many times." He goes, "Oh, thanks, man, thanks." And he pats my shoulder. I'll never forget it.
That's
this
great.
is it.
No,
It's
these are
just
the
a
memories.
normal-
These are the memories you remember, Phil. I mean, it's just.
But that's
I love these stories.
This is what people don't understand. Like famous people, I think sometimes lose sight of this. That when you see Bruce Springsteen, it might be your only opportunity to ever talk to him, and you gotta pounce.
well, now I've had the opportunity to meet him several times to the point where I don't know if he knows my name, but he goes, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah,
Right?
well, I mean, if
Because
you're
you know
Phil
that-
Rosenthal,
that's
that can
better
happen.
than-
No. But by the way, the first time I met him formally as who I became, that would be years later. That would be 10 years later. Now, we have Everybody Loves Raymond on the air. I created this show, and it's doing very well. And now Springsteen is opening the Staples Center in the year 2000. He's going to be the first thing in the Staples Center in Los Angeles. And we go, and my friend has a connection. You can go downstairs and say hello to him. So now it's going to be, you're formally meeting the guy. And I go downstairs, and I'm waiting to meet him. And Rob Lowe is downstairs. And I know Rob a little bit. He goes, "Hey, great to see you. What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, my friend has a, you've never met Bruce?" No. He goes, "I'll bet he loves your show." And he pulls me over. And I go, no, because I want to say, don't say what he says. "Bruce, you ever hear of Everybody Loves Raymond?" And Bruce Springsteen says, "What's that?" And I want to just turn to Rob Lowe and go, "Thanks, Rob."
The entire
This is
career reduced.
exactly how I wanted it to go. And Rob starts backtracking like Woody Allen. Oh, it's very popular sitcom. It's like the #1 show. And he created, it's very, and Springsteen, how about this for a great guy? He goes, "Oh, well, now I'm going to watch because I know the guy." Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice.
Great save.
And I go, "Oh, that's
Great
nice,
save.
Bruce. You don't have to watch. I'll still buy your records."
So last year, you guest starred on one of my favorite shows, Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David, which I know Larry also, and I know he's not really acting that much, but you played a character.
He might be nicer on the show.
He really is, but he acts the same way off camera. I've seen it. But
Yes, he doesn't want to have lunch with me
he
either
doesn't.
in real life.
I mean, is there any truth about him not having lunch with you? Was that written just
He
for
doesn't-
you?
Yes, he wanted to pick the guy that most people seem to enjoy and be annoyed by him. And I was happy to play that part.
No, I mean, it was just class. I mean, America's, the Trump hat, the whole thing was just so well done. And just having you there, and I was just wondering if you were just playing I wonder if there was any truth to it. That's what I was trying to ask you.
There is some truth to it because he's not a guy that you go and hang with and go have lunch with. I am that guy. I would say, "Come on." All the lines I said to him at the party were improvised, and it's what I would really say to him. "You should come with me on one of the Somebody Feed Phil things. We'll go. Let's go to Ethiopia. You like coffee?" Right?
No, that was.
But
was
it's
great.
funny because it's his nightmare to be social. Is
Yep.
his nightmare
To be invited somewhere.
to be invited somewhere, to be uncomfortable for a second. And I understand that. I don't like to be uncomfortable either. But he takes it to such a level. Like he other people are just so annoying. Like here's an example. You let's say, "Okay, good to see you. Shake hands. See you next time." And you talk a little bit, and then you talk to somebody else, and you go, "Okay, Larry, so bye. I'll see you." He goes, "We shook hands already." Like, God forbid he should shake hands twice with you.
He needs to establish that. No,
I mean,
Yes.
I mean, Phil, I used to book him at the Improv when I was working there, and I loved him, but he would walk the audience almost every night. I mean, he would have full audience, and at the end of the night, he'll come on, and about half the audience would leave during his set just because he would insult people. No one would get his humor except me. And maybe
the reason he is famous for not enjoying people.
He may have to see Dr. Dan Ratner as a client. Maybe that's in his future. I don't know.
Yeah.
Really quick, I wanted to ask you about Everybody Loves Raymond. I don't know why I can't say that today. I was there Aspen.
I'm kidding.
When Chris Albrecht was next to me, Stu Smiley was next to me, and they decided to give him a deal and give him the show basically. And that's how it. I just want to hear your story of how the whole show got together.
Ray, before that even, he got a shot on Letterman. Okay,
I remember.
After 12 years, he did 6 minutes on Letterman, and Letterman said there should be a show for that guy. And then maybe, they went to see him at the Aspen Festival. But Letterman is really the catalyst for the show, and the show was co-produced by Letterman's production company.
Yep.
And HBO's production company, and they had to find someone to create the show for the comedian. That's how it works in Hollywood. You send in scripts to be considered by talent, and the talent is sending their video cassettes around of their appearances on Carson or Letterman at this time to see if you like them. So I see the tape of his 6 minutes, and I say how funny he is. As a matter of fact, I remember seeing him when he was on 3 months ago, before I got the tape. But I didn't think anything of it. But now this guy wants a meeting. So, of course, I'll take this meeting. And he starts telling me about his real-life family. And for every crazy story he has about them, I have one about my crazy Jewish family. And so what I didn't know about the characters in his family, I filled in with the characters of mine. And that's how it happened.
I mean, it's a great story just because it shows you like Ray was doing stand-up for years. I mean, and he couldn't get arrested acting-wise. He was headlining. I was booking him all over the country, and he was a great stand-up comic.
Yeah.
But he could not get arrested guest starring on stuff, getting movies or anything. And
By the way, all of
a sudden, Phil Rosenthal appears and makes him a star.
I can't say I made him a star. I say we helped each other. How's that?
That's good.
But he was on News Radio. He was in the original cast of News Radio, and he was fired on the second day.
Yeah, but see, I mean...
So you never know.
I appreciate your modesty, and I know that Ray Romano is a huge talent, but it's when people fit together well. Like, clearly you guys just fit together well. And
I agree.
It's just like what you said.
Together well. But there's no him without me. There's no me without him.
Well, that's the same thing with the Beatles, if John and Paul don't get together as the Quarrymen, we don't have it. I mean, you saw them in their solo careers; they're not as good.
Well, Phil, let's talk about your show on Netflix. You're in front of the camera now. You're a big star.
I'm sorry.
People recognize you. Somebody feed Phil on Netflix. You can watch it right now, and just tell us how this whole show got going.
I got tired of show business. They wanted sitcoms from me, but every time I tried to write a sitcom again, they had so many notes, so many things wrong with it. The business has changed now. You got to do this. It's got to be young. It's got to be hip. It's got to be sexy. I'm like, well, you got the right guy. I'm Mr. Hip and Sexy.
They're taking all the fun out of it.
Well, they all want the same thing. They want the young, hip, sexy thing, and that's great if you can do it. I actually can't do it. I don't know anything about that world. I can only write what I know. I knew the world of Raymond because I was living that life. 90% of every story you saw on that show happened to me or to Ray or to one of the other writers.
Right.
And the business changed in the 9 years that we were on the air. And so, to be fair, they were giving me shows that I had no interest in either. And what I was writing, they didn't want. And so I thought, if I'm going to knock my head against this show business wall, I'm going to knock my head against this spot on the wall that I would really, really love. What's that? The travel and food genre that Anthony Bourdain pioneered. And what I thought was the way to sell me doing it was to say this. And this is what actually got me the show on the air. I said, I'm exactly like Anthony Bourdain if he was afraid of everything.
That was the pitch. You went in there and said, I'm Anthony Bourdain, but minus being brave and eating everything like he does.
Phil, did they think of calling the show Anthony Bourdain Afraid? That would be perfect. Or just Fearful Anthony Bourdain.
They already had Naked and Afraid, which is how I go through life. And I just thought you would understand where the show was coming from. It would be that type of show, but maybe with a sense of humor. And it turned out at the time that PBS was looking for such a show. So I got lucky. I did it for a year there, and then here comes Netflix, and then I've been on there.
Now, tell us about the show. I mean, just tell our audience that are not familiar with the show exactly what you do.
Yes. It's a travel show. I'm trying to get you to travel. I think the world would be better if we all experienced a little bit more of other people's experience. And I'm using food and hopefully my stupid sense of humor to get you in, to get you to want to go to where I'm showing. And it seems to be working. People all the time come up to me and say, I went to Thailand because of you. I went to South Africa because of you. Nothing could make me happy.
See, I'm a therapist, and we should bring this to agoraphobics. We should be like,
Yes.
here, Phil goes places. It's okay.
And I'm nervous. I don't really want to be uncomfortable either. I'm
This
nervous
does
when I go to South Africa. What's going to happen to me? I'm nervous when my brother, who also produces the show, puts me on a camel or makes me go zip lining in Hawaii. I'm not that guy.
No, a Jewish guy on a camel isn't a great idea, I don't think.
It's not a good idea for anybody. It's so uncomfortable.
No,
It is. And I mean, are there any countries that they said, hey, let's go to Syria or let's go to
Yes.
and
Yes. Why don't we go to
no?
Syria? I
You
say
say
no
no to
thank
anything?
you. I'm
You say
not
no?
going to. I'm not going to where there's war. Bourdain did a show and war broke out, I think, in Lebanon. It's a famous episode. He couldn't, and the show became about them trying to get out of Lebanon, and they couldn't right away. I don't want to be in that position.
was there anything that you refused to eat that they brought to you and you said, you know what? I'm not doing this. There had to be something.
I have tasted things that I don't like. And
Example?
A lot of the time, well, here's the worst one, believe it or not, is something called the 1,000-year-old egg in China. And it's not really 1,000, it just tastes that way. It's an egg that they bury in lime and ash, and they bury it underground for like months, and then it kind of hard boils.
Did you just say it tastes like it's 1,000 years old?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Tastes that way.
You're much braver than you said.
So you get this hard-boiled egg, and when you cut it open, the white is a brownish orange, and the yolk is a bluish green. And I bit into this thing, and it tasted like cat piss. Not that I know.
I've heard about that thing, but I'm not eating that.
It was a horrible. We called it cat pee egg.
And people order this. That's the crazy thing, Phil. It's like,
well, what I learned was you're supposed to take a tiny sliver of it and put it in a hot pot with many other ingredients, because you just want this little taste of cat piss in there.
oh, that's a delicacy.
Not this
here in America.
tsunami of
See,
cat
Phil,
piss.
I've just figured out why your shows weren't getting picked up. They were called Cat Pee Egg.
Don't call
Maybe
your
you
show
should try again. Maybe they're ready for it now.
cat pee egg.
I love
That's
how you
when-
just roll with everything. This is
Yes, I'm
what
very
funny
easy.
people are all about.
Phil, thanks for coming on. You can watch Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix, and also PBS plays your show. I'll have what Phil's having once in a while. I see that sometimes. I have a quick. I know you don't want to do a sitcom right now, but I have a quick pitch for you. Just hear it really quickly. It's called Everybody Loves Dr. Dan. It's about a doctor that lives in Cleveland that thinks he's funny, but he's really not that funny. But he is funny. But he's a therapist. He plays music. He's a big Beatles fan, and he's actually one of the top in his field, what he does with pain and psychology.
And listen, I'm Jewish and quite neurotic in a lot of ways.
Yes, he is.
We could be a good pair.
But I mean,
I
if
could
you
be your
come
next
out,
Ray.
if you come out with his sitcom as a pitch, I think it could work. What do you think? Can we count on you?
No.
Okay, I tried.
Listen, you tried. I knew we were in trouble because Phil likes to go for the best stuff, and I haven't proven to Phil that I'm the best. Give me some time, Phil. Maybe
You got it.
We'll revisit that.
Phil,
got
thanks
10
for coming on. You're the best.
You're the best.